The Alpha Sessions.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Alpha Sessions. I'm Lucy Wroe, back again with the Proxies.
Hello.
How are you?
Yeah, doing all right.
Yeah,
great.
Good.
Thank you.
That was very casual. I thought we'd have more hype.
We can hype.
Be more emphatic.
I'm doing great. So happy.
You just ate cake.
I know. I'm
very
excited.
In fact, you should be on the sugar high.
Breakfast, yeah.
Cake for breakfast is the way the Proxies do it, apparently. Welcome to the show, and we're very excited to have you here. And we don't get a lot of duos, or I don't get to interview a lot of duos, especially who I already know briefly. Sure. So it's been very enjoyable. We actually met at St. Martin in the Fields, I think.
Oh my gosh,
years and years ago.
Yeah.
I don't even know. It was either 2021 or 2022.
It must have been 21.
This was pre-facial hair for you.
yeah, you're right. Yeah,
a big time.
Yeah, a bit long
very
time.
Different time.
I mean, I couldn't grow it back then, so I think that's
all these things take time. And it's all part of the process,
Yeah.
So speaking of the process, I feel that everybody in this room has come a long way since then, in a great way, and now forming this duo, which I feel like has been a long time coming.
Yeah.
So tell me more about how you came together finally, or over the last few years you were already playing together, and why the Proxies has now become the duo that it was always inevitably going to become.
Yeah. Well, we, as you alluded to, we kind of tripped and fell into being this new duo thing.
Yeah.
I'm stuttering here because we've always been a duo, just it's always been very unofficial. I've always worked on his stuff, he's always worked on mine, and it just felt right. We had a lot of music that we were... there used to not be as much of a crossover in terms of who sang what, and the lines got so blurred that we ended up just putting a label on it.
Yeah. There came a point where we wrote everything together, we performed everything together, we recorded and kind of did everything musically we were doing together, and it came to a point where we were like, well, we might as well just give it a name and then keep going with it. And so we could have kept doing our own stuff, and it was fun. I'm sure we will do our own things in the future separately from the Proxies, but I think it just made sense for us to kind of work on a single project between the two of us, and I'm really glad that we have, because I think it's worked out quite well. Yeah.
And do you think over the last few years you playing together has sort of developed your sound individually, but also in within this project as the duo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
you sort of lift each other up.
Yeah.
It's safe to say it's grown both of us up very quickly.
Yeah.
This is our first, I'd consider, adult project.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think it's our first adult extended project, because I feel like we've done we worked on an EP that was released under my name called Greener Grass, and that was almost like a tester for this, I feel like, because we had worked on it together from start to finish. We wrote almost all of it together, and recorded almost all of it together, planned it, and instrumentation, everything, and it was kind of like a tester to see whether we could do this. We didn't know it at the time, but once it finally released last year, we were kind of planning, right, what's next, and we kind of floated this idea, should we just go for the duo now? Is this the right time? And it felt like it was. But your influences have become my influences and vice versa. Over the last few years, it's crazy. It's almost like we have the same, I don't know, music taste and everything now, to a degree.
To a degree, there are some outliers. But it is the case that all of your previous listens seem to be my previous listen.
Yeah.
It's like you have one musical brain, and I'm not often wondering this about duos, because I suppose you spend so much time in close proximity, and then you discover that you just sort of tap into the same, duo brain, and you have your own brains as well. Yeah, but then there's a musical combination.
I feel like there are times where we have our own language with each other. I can tell what he's thinking without hearing what he's thinking at times, and I feel like you are the same with me. And it's my wife finds that quite funny. And that's quite funny because we spend so much time together, because we often do so much music together, but we do hang out as friends as well, and so we just know each other very well.
Yeah, it can be quite. I mean, it's as good as it is a bad thing, because you know exactly what they're going to think. You start answering the questions in your head.
Yeah.
You're like, do you like this? Don't even answer. You don't. I know you don't.
Yeah.
I'll try something new.
Yeah. And so, I mean, when we're, recording, there'll be times where you have to go, right, I know what you're going to say to this, but hear me out, because you know what the immediate reaction's probably going to be. You know that it's not something I would normally go for, but you go, like, hear me out, trust me on this. Mm-hmm. And then we end up going, we like that. Yeah. But we often do that, quite a bit, I feel like, with each other. Mm-hmm. But, yeah.
And speaking on that, more specifically, you have an album. You have an album coming out very soon that I would like to talk more about. So you've released Louder already and Wasn't Made.
Yes.
Singles already. And why going into this, did you always have the impression that you'd make an album together? Or did you think maybe singles, EPs, because an album's a big project?
Yeah. I think we thought about an EP to begin with, and it was almost immediately it's going to be an album, because we realised we had so many songs and stuff that we really just wanted to put out there. And I know that a lot, like the common release strategy is, okay, we're going to release a single, and then release an EP with one new song on it, or two new songs. And that works really well for marketing. And we thought, that also would work, But the thing is, for us, we were kind of like, we just want there to almost be some level of back catalogue for us that we can enter the world with. Like, we want there to feel like if someone discovers us as the audience, that they're discovering music and not just a song that they found on social media. They can actually find other things as well. Yeah. So that after this project, when we do the next one, it feels like they're discovering something bigger than what they had. But also, we just had a lot of songs. Mm-hmm.
And what was the beginning of this album? Was there one song that made you think this is the beginning of a project?
I think it was Louder.
Yeah.
Louder. So I had this, I've had this chorus without any lyrics for about 2-3 years. And every time I brought it up, we both got lit up in the way that we would if it were a new song. And it just ended up being the catalyst for this. We wrote it and realized we need an album to, as a springboard for this song.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the process with writing as well, I'm finding quite interesting, because I can't imagine being someone, I write with other people and everybody has their collaborators, but to perform them together as well, it changes the way you write, I imagine. Like, if one of you's not the producer and the other one is going to be performing it, if you're writing as a duo, how different is that to how you would normally write?
I don't think it's far off,
no.
But it does change. Obviously, when we write, we have to think about how the person who will be singing is going to sing it. And so lyrically, I know that the lyrics that would make sense for me to sing that would sound well for me to sing may not make sense for Brad. It could sound great as a harmony in Brad's voice and tone, but it might not, vice versa. So there are other considerations that we have to kind of think about when we're writing, but I think we kind of have fallen into a rhythm when it comes to writing together, where we know that what tends to happen is it doesn't happen on all of the songs, to be fair, but we kind of have an idea. I'll put forward a melody, Brad refines it, and then we just get all our ideas out for lyrics, and then we go, what works? And we just kind of work section by section by section until we've got an idea that we just really enjoy. And then we refine that from there, I think. Is the simplified version of how it happens. But
it is just like an energy ball. Maybe it's like a circuit. You're just trying to find the problems and the kinks in the wire, and then by the end of it, if both of us don't think the light is lighting up in the right way, we'll have to go back. And I mean, there are a lot of times where Jack will say something lyrically that sounds completely fine out of his mouth, and I just can't pull it off. And And it's we have a couple of rules, but the main being we don't leave any like stone unturned. If either of us don't feel comfortable with something, it's not the message we like identify with, we will change that. Absolutely.
Yeah, and the thing is, it might end up being something that we end up using later on down the line in another song. And that has happened where we've come up with an idea of a lyric and we've gone, this could work, and the other person's gone, no, that's not for me. And we go, okay, fine. And then it's just worked in another song where you can kind of start afresh with that idea. But
all ideas seem to be repurposed.
Yeah. Nothing gets unused.
Lost command with my words, she heard them all firsthand. I was walking home when I lost command. It always takes a lot for me to understand that the night is working underhand. It always takes a lot for me to understand, 'cause I know her love can sink me of leaves, but I won't let her enough so we can safely keep dreaming on, dreaming on. Oh, this is more than we were dreaming of, dreaming on. Told me I'm a lost man. It didn't take a lot for me to drop the plan. 'Cause I know her love can sink me in a sea of leaves, but I won't let her enough so we can safely keep dreaming on, dreaming
The Alpha Sessions.
It's interesting. I didn't think about it lyrically for some reason, like having very personal viewpoints, as you would, and then having to share them with someone else singing the same song. But then also it must be quite nice that you can then interpret them within the same song in your own way. Like if the lyric's not sitting right with one person.
Yeah. The second song that we played, Brush Rezo, that had that was the first time we were actually writing from both of our point of views and melding them into one song. That was such a fun writing process, to let those two different worlds just sit and collide, and it was great.
That song was a therapy session because it was working out like how we have felt, what are we putting in our individual verses, and how are we relating it, how are we kind of putting them together in that third verse that kind of just encapsulates both in one. And so that was a real tricky thing to kind of do. But once we actually sat through and talked about what we wanted to talk about in the song, it didn't take us long to actually write it. I mean, the lyrics aren't complex, but it was like, it didn't take long. It was maybe only an hour until we finished it after that point, I feel like.
It came out so quickly, but it felt like a really defining moment, at least for me it did. I mean, just because it was like the bow on finally knowing we can meld, and it's just going to make the art better if we find a way through it.
And the title I was going to ask about, Brush Rezo.
Okay, so this was the stupidest decision we've made since we started this. But literally, I named it very quickly as a voice note. I thought it sounds like it could have some brushes on it, and I played it on a resonator guitar, and I just wanted something symmetrical.
Yeah.
So
something that
Brush Rezo.
Well, you name all your ideas on your phone after things that you know you will search for. So, like, it could be, like, one of them is Stavesy Harm, because it's kind of sounds like the Staves.
And it had a harmonica on it.
Right. And we've now used that song, and it's now The Way That You Love. But we know it as Stavesy Harm. And so it's hard to kind of, like, switch that in our brains. But Brush Rezo, it just always felt like it encapsulated the song more so than any name we could have given it. So
completely. And we did some crowdsourcing. We asked around to make sure we weren't being stupid, but everyone else seemed to find it was the right name for the song. So we went with what felt right.
Well, also, if it feels right to you, then that's all that matters, really. That's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And it's the only out there song title, I think, on the album, so it's fine. Yeah.
And the first one you played, we didn't even touch on yet. Dreaming On.
Yes.
And is that one and Brush Rezo, are they on the album?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me more about Dreaming On.
Dreaming On was an idea that we've had for a long time, and it was always our idea. And it was essentially, there was this one afternoon where I went over to Brad's house, and I think it was genuinely the first time I'd been to your house. And we sat in his bedroom, and we came up with like maybe 7 or 8 ideas, and we had this like desire. At this point, we the Proxies wasn't even a figment of our imagination. We thought maybe we'll do like a project where it's all those ideas as one project, just as a one-off, where it's a collaboration album under both of our names. And Dreaming On was one of those songs. And we were going to call it Ideas from Brad's Bedroom.
That could be taken a very different way.
Yeah, and so we
solved a problem by not doing that.
That project never happened. So we kind of, but Dreaming On stuck. That kind of came up because I remember listening back to all the ideas and just going, I really want to write this one now. And so I kind of wrote, like, I think it was the verses I wrote ideas for and then sent them over to you. And much like how it always happens, I kind of get, like, I feel like what happens is I will get, like, bulk. And then we sit down to refine it together is, like, how it tends to be sometimes. Sometimes it's the other way around. But
I mean, it does seem to be the case. He'll bring in, like, the rug and then we'll make it fit the room.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's how Dreaming On came. And so that was, that's kind of the song. But that is probably the oldest complete song on the album.
Yes, that's the one that was actually on the soft release EP that we put out.
Yeah,
that's the only one I think that. Oh, actually, that Dying from Nostalgia as well came from that.
Yeah.
But that's the only one that's made it through the sieve.
Yeah.
Where do you usually find your inspiration comes from? So if Jack's usually the one who comes with the rug, is that like? Does Jack have all of the sort of the core ideas for themes, or do you often come to each other and be like, I want to write about this, or I've had this lyrical idea?
Oh, that is complete 50-50, I think.
It is completely 50-50, yeah. I mean, if Jack has an idea, he will have it in its entirety right there and then. And if I have an idea, it might take me a week or a month to feel like I want to share. But even then, I'll come with... sometimes I'll come with full songs, but typically I'll come with a full structure, and then we'll write lyrics together. Yeah,
it's the same thing, really. I mean, Dying from Nostalgia is one of 3 songs that I wrote in just like one day, where I borrowed Brad's guitar and put some headphones on, set up a mic, and it was like a whole new inspiration tool unlocked. And it was just amazing, and that was one of the ones that I wrote, and I just sent it over to Brad as like this kind of finished idea. Brad was like, yeah, done, cool, yeah, we'll use that.
Full stop.
And so, but then there are times where like I'll come up with an idea. We finished watching season 2 of Shrinking, and we just were sitting down with guitars, and I just found some chords that I liked and just came up with a melody. And it just sometimes it is just I'll make a voice note and develop a song over those 6 minutes and go, great, now we just need to put lyrics to it.
The perfect example of that is the last song on our album called Everything. We were sitting, so Jack had just got this cigar box guitar, this amazing cigar. Who was the person that made it?
It was a guy who's, I think he's on Etsy and Instagram, Thunderbird Guitars, from North Carolina. If you're willing to ship it to the UK, you got to pay for the shipping. But he doesn't usually do it, but he is saving money for a boat, so that's why he's doing it.
To ship the guitars across.
I think he just wants to have a boat, and so he was making guitars like just for himself, and then his wife was like, you should sell these because they're good, they're really cool, and people will buy them. So he tried. He went to like a farmer's market, and then all of them went. He went, great, I'll do this more often then. And so he's got some really cool stuff.
And one of them went to you.
One of them went to me,
We wrote this song the first time we had our friend around, Ava, and we just had this stream of consciousness. Jack just did this melody thing. I did a melody thing with Ava, and we pretty much just picked the best 2 minutes of that, and all of a sudden we had the end of our album.
Yeah, that's great. It feels it always feels so natural. The way you tell the stories about how you wrote all the songs, it's just like it was all in front of you, like puzzle pieces everywhere. All you have to do is arrange them. Yeah, that's kind of how it feels.
I feel like that's how this album came about. I feel like because I can sit down to write a song. When I'm writing with other people, that's how it usually happens. Or if I'm writing for someone else, we sit down and we go, what do you want? How do you want it? And then you just make it. But occasionally, and what I've really loved about this album is that actually what we've had, like you said, puzzle pieces, and we've just completed the puzzle. And it just felt so much more natural, like you say, than just sitting down with the intention to write a specific kind of song. It felt really good.
1, 2, 3.
Remember the world you sketched, our ambition left on your plane. You watched me pack and and held me back until you were me. Oh, oh.
Remember the world you couldn't dream, taken out of school before you learned. In the darkest room with nothing new, you turned out some months.
So paint your picture and leave all your hurt left by my two feet. An empty cross with two false starts into smithereens.
The Alpha Sessions.
I want to talk about playing live together, because that synergy is probably quite, I mean, we saw it in here, but on stage I imagine you have that kind of same energy where you just understand each other.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, again, like you alluded to earlier, we kind of had one brain when it comes to this.
Yeah.
I mean, we're at the moment we're putting together a band, which is going to be a really interesting next step in our live performances. But up until now, we've been kind of merging as much as we can with this kind of unspoken ebb and flow of everything. But we have put a lot of emphasis on making sure that was it was just a massively important thing to us. I mean, we did a lot of live streaming, and that really helped us kind of lock in. There's this thing where we tried not to look at each other and try to play perfectly in time with each other, so that there's just kind of this unspoken link.
Yeah, we've put a really big emphasis on live performance. I feel like the last year or so we've spent almost done research when we've gone to other people's gigs, rather than, at least in my head, instead of going to completely enjoy the gig, which I still enjoy the gig, I've been watching and going, why is this good? And going, why am I enjoying this so much? And then working out why I enjoy it, and then taking that back and going, how can we apply this to us? Sometimes it's not something you can apply. Sometimes it is a spur of the moment thing, like when we went to see, well, we didn't go to see her, but we stumbled upon Michaela Davis in Alpharetta, Georgia, and just this festival they had for free in the center of this town in America. It was great, amazing, and we were walking by one of the main stages, and Michaela Davis was on there with a harp. And we were just like, that's cool, we'll stick around. And we ended up staying for the entire set because it was so captivating. But one of the moments that really stood out to us was the pedal steel player and also lead guitarist at times. They had 2 guitars on stage, so it was the guy playing the pedal steel was either lead guitar or pedal steel, and he broke a string on the pedal steel. So they just went, we were watching it going, this is amazing. The song never stopped. The other guitarist took lead, and then he was like, cool, I'm just going to fix this real quick. Fixed it, and then unplugged the cable into his guitar so that he could do the solo that he was supposed to do on the pedal steel on the guitar, and then swap over like he was supposed to do lead guitar. Wow. At the end of the song. It was just something that just like blew us away, but it was so subtle. Sometimes you can't replicate that because that was a spur of the moment thing, but what you can take away is that came across as amazing musicianship, and that it was kind of a spur of the moment thing. He could have just gone, right, okay, I can't play with the pedal steel now. But instead it was this really awesome thing to witness. And I don't know, I think that it just taught us to go, okay, well, let's just enjoy the set and go, how can we just do something in the set?
and lean into the moments that are like presented to you. I mean, we had a really funny moment where Jack's microphone stand completely dipped on him during a song.
I've seen this moment.
Yeah, we were at the Bluebird Cafe in Nashville. And
you caught it.
Yeah,
just
about, But it was just like, that's great. And, made a joke about it mid-song because address it. I feel like you have to address it. But it was really fun, and it just invited people on stage almost. Like if you have something like that, you want some artists will always want there to be a divide between them on stage and the audience, but I don't feel like that's what we want. I feel like, I mean, we're literally called the Proxies. We kind of want them to be with us on stage. Like we want to invite them to feel like they are with us. And so doing something like that where you're kind of breaking that wall and kind of going like, I don't know, inviting them on stage just allows you to kind of experience that differently as the audience.
And fully connect with the artist. I mean, they're human, we're human.
Yeah, there is a lot of divide recently between like idolizing, which I can understand in a way. They've always been idols and people who seem unreachable or inhuman. But when it comes down to it, that's just not true. It's like they can be somebody like the people you saw on stage at that festival, like people you'd look up to and think, wow, that was cool. But you're not going to look at that and think, well, that's untouchable. You think, how can I harness that? Because it's a very human trait. That exact moment was so human. So it's nice to see it that way, and I think that comes across as well in the way that you perform and the music you make. It feels very natural.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to talk about this. The final song wasn't made because that is one of the singles from the album. So this one, is this a Brad? I can't remember.
This is my lead.
This is Brad lead.
Yeah.
So is this one that you wrote as the Brad lead, or was it the same?
We did write it as a Brad lead, and it just came out. It was another. I feel like all of our songs now, looking back at them, are all a stream of consciousness.
Yeah,
but
a little bit.
But yeah, we were just sat down on a pier, and it just kind of happened. I mean, I was playing guitar out of a Bluetooth speaker. Thought it would be fun. Yeah, but there was no power. So it was just what we had. It was a really hot day. I had this idea. And it was out within an hour.
Yeah. I mean, because you brought the idea of the chorus, which we only actually hear twice in the song.
Some people have been upset about that.
Yeah, so we were just like, listen to it again, it's fine. But you had that idea, and we kind of toyed around with it, but it was only once we sat down, we did go, right, we're going to sit down to finish this song. Because we were, when we were in the States back in September, October, we knew if we want to get this album out for this year, we were going to have to get cracking on the writing. So we were like, let's just set aside a day where we can do nothing. And we were in Pensacola, Florida, at a friend's house, and they had like a little dock And we just sat under a little kind of covering. And what we didn't know was there was power, but we couldn't find it. We found it later. So you had to just like aux cord out of your pedal board into... No, you didn't. You didn't do the pedal board.
Straight out of the guitar.
Straight out of the guitar into it.
Direct.
I forgot about that.
Nice and clean.
That was great. And we just wrote like that. And the idea for it being a 2-part song came that way. Yeah. And that's when we decided it would really be one of the last tracks on the album to be like this kind of penultimate track. And yeah, I don't know, it was always a song for you to sing. It just made sense in that aspect.
And then you get the second half of it, which was, again, in the moment, I was just like, oh, you know, I got this other one. Actually, this really works. Oh my God, I can't even just use the lyrics. We can use the entire melody from this other song. Yeah. And like you said, it is like 2 songs in one.
Yeah.
And it does feel like the energy ball, the album, it does feel like it just kind of explodes at the end. And it was a really important song. I don't know that we would have had the album that we have now, if we hadn't finished that just before Christmas.
I think, to be fair, it helps. I mean, so on the same trip, we stayed with Krista Detour, who lives in... well, I shouldn't dox her. But we were in Indiana.
Give me her example.
But she has like a recording studio, and Dave Weber was looking after us. And because Krista unfortunately wasn't there, and so we didn't get to see it, but he was just like, well, if you want to use the studio, go ahead. Nice. And so we were like...
Yes.
We will. Thank you. Yes,
we
please.
had one night.
Yeah.
And we stayed up until we couldn't.
3 a.m. Yeah. Well, because was it the night before or the night after? I think it was the night after that we had to go to the ER.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because... I thought I was having an allergic reaction. I have anaphylaxis. So we were like, okay, well, we should get that checked out. I've got travel insurance. I'm covered. It's just the right thing to do. And I was having an allergic reaction, but not anaphylaxis. But it turns out I had a throat infection. So we were...
I was singing on that trip.
Oh, yeah. Antibiotics, steroids. And then Benadryl for the minor reaction, and then stomach medicine and everything. It was...
Wow. It's fair to say he was not completely with us.
Maybe that's what makes it what it is, you know?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, that ended up feeling so special because we only got so much time in that studio, and we got almost everything recorded. It was only the drums,
and the vocals.
The bass. Yeah. The bass
was there.
The bass was there. It was, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
But it feels so special to us because it was on the same trip that we wrote it. We were able to record it in such a amazing place, and I got to play on Krista's piano, and I was very very happy about it. Yeah. But although I will say I'm not the best pianist, but Brad's had to do some decent editing on that take, but it's fine. But
that's great because you could capture the moment.
Yeah,
as it was.
It really felt. And then when we had to then leave the next day, because I was, we weren't sure whether I was going to have to fly home or not because of insurance stuff, with all the newfound medical problems that I had. It made it even more special. And so I think that song is just, it will always be like the real special song on this album, in my opinion. And when I've now, having listened to the full album from start to finish, it does exactly what we hoped it would do. It plays its role in the album that we wanted it to do, and it just feels that much better. If I may say so myself, but I just... I will
be the judge of that.
Yeah, you can be the judge.
I'll let you know. I'll let you know how I feel. But
Please
also, knowing that story, knowing the context and where it was, and capturing that will probably make it feel different to me as well now, because I just have that on my mind.
Hopefully,
So, yes. Well, what is the title of the album?
Anything, Everything.
Anything, Everything. That's important to know. What is the release date of Anything?
16th of May.
16th of May. Well, we look forward to that. I look forward to that. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming in.
Of course, thank you for having us.
If people would like to find you on the interwebs, where can they search and what can they search?
You can find us at It's the Proxies on all social media. Although I don't think we're on a couple, but all the important ones. If we're not on your favourite social media, then it's not important enough. And you can find us. Yeah, sorry. You can find us The Proxies on Spotify, all the major streaming platforms. We will have a Bandcamp if you want to download and purchase the album as well. But apart from that, that's kind of the main.
Yeah. It's the Proxies on Instagram is the main one.
Is the main one, yeah.
Instagram it is. It's where everyone seems to be.
Yeah, it's the popular one.
It is. Yeah. And it'll be even more popular when the album is out.
Yeah,
everyone will be flooding there.
Yeah.
They'll be flooding there to be the first to listen. So, Jack and Brad, thank you so much for coming in as the Proxies, and it's been a wonderful chat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Blurry eyes and playing cards again, pulling focus from a compliment, leaking time on the couch, the kind of stain that can't come out. I wasn't made for this. I wasn't made for this. If there was somewhere to hide you, would you? Well, I can't take this weight, 'cause I wasn't made for this. Taking time to meet it like a friend, tuck the line just to let it go again. Trying this and forcing that, I'm still learning to react. Wasn't made for this. I wasn't made for this. If there was somewhere to hide you, would you? Oh, I can't take this way, 'cause I wasn't made for this. I wanted to tell you, I think I was meant to. I think I was wrong. Where would you want me if you could tell me where I belong? 'Cause I wanted to tell you, I think I was meant to. I think I was wrong. Where would you want me if you could tell me where I belong? 'Cause I wanted to tell you, I think I was meant to. I think I was wrong. Where would you want me if you could tell me where I belong? 'Cause I wouldn't run, 'cause I wouldn't run, 'cause I wouldn't run. If there was somewhere to hide you, would you? Well, I can't take this way, 'cause I wasn't made for this.